The rain hadn't let up for hours. Miles of empty highway stretched behind and ahead, black asphalt swallowed by night. Eric's windshield wipers beat frantically, but the downpour blurred everything into a watery smear. His phone had no signal, and his GPS had given up on him miles ago. He pressed harder on the gas. The fuel gauge needled dangerously low. He'd promised himself he wouldn't pull off into one of these forgotten back roads, but the storm had left him no choice. Then he saw it. A glow through the curtain of rain. Flickering neon. At first, he thought it was a mirage, but seconds later the shape formed. A roadside inn, squatting at the edge of the woods, its sign buzzing faintly through the storm. The Hearthstone Inn, vacancy. Eric slowed, relief trickling through him. Shelter, a bed, maybe even a hot meal. But as he parked his car, he noticed something odd. There were a dozen cars outside, but all of them looked old, dusty, faded at the edges. A Chevy from the late 80s, a station wagon with peeling paint, a rusted pickup that looked like it hadn't moved in decades. The rain drove him forward. He grabbed his overnight bag, jogged across the lot, and shoved the glass door open. The first thing he noticed, once inside, was how warm it was. Almost too warm, like a fire had been burning for hours. A smell clung to the air, wood polish, cigarette smoke, and something else. A sourness that seemed to crawl low along the carpet. Behind the front desk stood a man in a burgundy vest, smiling too wide. His name tag read, Gregory. "Welcome, sir. Rough night to be on the road." Eric nodded, rain dripping from his jacket. "Yeah, tell me about it. Any rooms available?" Gregory hesitated. Then his eyes flicked to the glowing vacancy sign just beyond the glass. His smile twitched, but held. Always room here. Just sign the ledger." Eric frowned. The register was leather-bound, pages yellowed with age. He scrawled his name anyway, noticing old entries going back decades. Names, dates, some from years like 1993, 1978, 1962. Weird. He paid in cash, and Gregory handed him an actual brass key, heavy and cold in Eric's palm. "Room 6, end of the hall upstairs. Dinner service ends at 9. Don't get lost now." The comment struck him as odd, but Eric was too tired to dwell on it. He trudged toward the stairs. The hallway stretched long, carpet muffling every step, and that's when he noticed something else. The guests. A woman in pearls stood peering out of her door, dressed like she'd stepped out of a 1950s magazine. At the end of the corridor, a man in shaggy hair and denim leaned against the wall, cigarette glowing. Another guest shuffled by in a giant down jacket that looked straight from the 80s. They all stared at him, quiet, watchful. Eric muttered, "Evening," but no one replied. He unlocked his room, small but welcoming, and set his bag down. The storm outside rattled the window, but inside, everything was eerily still. Too still. Hunger gnawed at him. He decided to catch dinner before the kitchen closed. The dining area was dimly lit, lined with guests scattered at tables, speaking in low tones. He slid into a booth and ate meatloaf and mashed potatoes that tasted off. Like the flavors were echoes of real food, muted, somehow wrong. A woman in her 60s sat across from him at the next table. She leaned toward him suddenly, whispering, "You're new." Eric blinked. Yeah. Just passing through." Her eyes widened, a strange mixture of pity and warning. "That's what I thought too. But you're not passing through. None of us are." Eric forced a chuckle. "Funny. I checked in 1979, she continued in a hoarse whisper. "Still here. Can't leave. None of us can. You'll see." He stared at her trembling fork, at the sincerity in her gaze. Before he could respond, Gregory appeared near the kitchen, watching them. His smile stretched wider, too wide, as though he knew exactly what had been said. Eric felt a crawling up his spine. Later, back in his room, he locked the door. He told himself it was just a crazy old guest messing with him, but something was off, terribly off. His phone still had no signal. He set it down and sat on the bed. That's when he noticed something he was sure hadn't been there before. On the nightstand beside the clock was a leather-bound ledger, the guest book he'd signed at the front desk. It was open. On the fresh page was his name, Eric. And beside it, in handwriting that wasn't his own, the words, "Permanent Guest." The word permanent stared up at Eric from the ledger. His first reaction was anger. Stupid prank. Then unease set in. He hadn't brought it upstairs. He definitely hadn't. Eric shoved the book into the drawer, forcing the matter out of sight. He lay in bed, but sleep refused to come. The storm's growl faded, leaving behind a silence that pressed against his ears. At 2:14 a.m., the silence broke. A knock, slow, deliberate. 3 raps exactly. Eric froze. His room key was still in the lock, but he'd bolted the door, hadn't he? Yes. He remembered sliding the chain. "Who is it?" Silence. Another 3 knocks, louder this time. His chest tightened. Against his better judgment, he crept to the peephole. The hallway stretched dim and empty. But then, movement. A man stood at the far end, not walking, but facing Eric's door. His face was obscured by shadow. He just stood, waiting. A ripple of dread worked down Eric's spine. He stepped back, heart pounding, and heard the chain snap. Snap. The bolt slid free on its own. The door cracked open half an inch. Eric lunged, slamming it shut with his shoulder, throwing the dresser against it. He grabbed his bag, fumbling for his car keys. He wasn't staying another second. He kicked the dresser back and ran. The hallway seemed longer than before. His footsteps sank into the fading carpet as ceiling lights flickered above. The stairwell, he realized, wasn't where it had been. He ran faster. Every few doors, there was another guest standing silently in their threshold, watching him, expressionless, as if curious but unwilling to interfere. The architecture didn't make sense. Hallways bent at angles that should have led him outside, but looped him deeper inside the inn. Every corner promised an exit sign, but around each bend, he found himself facing corridors he swore he'd already passed. Behind him, footsteps joined his. Soft at first, then many more. A shuffling, spreading, as other doors opened and more guests stepped into the hall. They weren't running, just following. Patient. Eric's pulse raced. He bolted down a side hall, burst through a door, and stumbled into the lobby. Relief flooded him. He saw the front door glowing ahead, rain visible through the glass. He sprinted. "Leaving so soon?" Gregory's voice floated from behind the desk. Eric ignored him. He slammed into the door. The glass rattled under impact, but did not break. He yanked the handle, locked. He pulled harder, throwing all his weight. Nothing budged. Eric shattered into panic. "What the hell is this place?" Gregory leaned forward, resting his chin on folded hands. His smile remained inhumanly calm. "This is the Hearthstone Inn," he said smoothly. "And as you've seen, we're always at full occupancy." Anger burst through Eric's fear. He grabbed a chair and slammed it at the door. Wood splintered, but the glass held, a spiderweb crack healing itself as if it were never damaged. He stepped back, gasping. "Impossible," he whispered. From the dining room, the woman he'd spoken to earlier emerged. Her expression was weary, sad. "Don't fight it, Eric," she said softly. "It makes it worse." Eric turned to her. "There has to be a way out." Her lips pressed tight. She leaned close, whispering quickly before Gregory could hear. "Some of us think the secret's in the basement. That's where the voices are. But no one who goes down there ever comes back." Her eyes darted toward Gregory, who was still watching, head cocked like a man listening to music only he could hear. Eric's hands shook. He didn't want to stay here until breakfast. He didn't want to become one of the silent watchers in the hall. "The basement," he muttered. The woman nodded. "But be careful. It doesn't stay in one place. The inn shifts itself. You'll need to find the door while it wants you to." Eric stared at her, but before he could reply, All the lobby lights blew out at once. Pop, pop, pop. The darkness crushed in, thick and immediate. Then came the voice. It did not come from Gregory, or the woman, or even the guests gathering quietly from the halls. It came from the walls, from beneath the carpet, from every panel of wood and inch of plaster. "Don't leave me," it whispered, 1,000 layered voices overlapping. "You are mine now." Something moved in the dark, steps dragging closer. Eric's hands fumbled for his phone flashlight. He clicked it on, and froze. In the beam stood the ledger again, propped up on the front desk. But this time the page showed more than just his name. It showed a date, written in a hand identical to his own. Eric, checked in August 21, 2025. Checked out, never. The battery on his phone plummeted to black, and a hand, not Gregory's, not human, closed over his shoulder. The hand on Eric's shoulder was colder than death. Eric spun, swinging his bag wildly. Empty space. Nothing stood behind him. But the sensation still lingered. Fingers sunk deep into his shoulder like a phantom grip. He staggered back, vision swimming, desperate to find light, any escape. The power flickered, snapping the lamps alive again. The lobby appeared unchanged, except for the crowd that now filled it. The guests had gathered silently. A dozen, maybe 24, ringed around him. Men with sideburns and denim jackets, women with teased hair, couples dressed in 50s Sunday best, styles from decades apart, all watching him, speechless. Gregory stood behind the desk, hands folded neatly, that too wide smile slicing his pale face. "This is not a place to fear, Eric," he said calmly. "It is a place of rest, a place to stay." Eric's heart hammered. "You're lying." Gregory tilted his head as if humored by a child's protest. "The road takes people. We offer them shelter. Forever." Eric's eyes darted to the guests. Most seemed hollow, passive, until his gaze landed on the woman he'd met at dinner. She mouthed 2 words, urgent and sharp. "Basement! Now!" Eric didn't think. He bolted. The corridors swallowed him again, winding like intestines. The wallpaper shifted patterns when he wasn't looking. The stripes tilted into spirals. Spirals became eyes. Behind closed doors, muffled voices whispered in syncopation, like a practiced choir. His lungs burned as he sprinted. Every corner teased an exit sign glowing red. But when he opened any door beneath those signs, there was no outside, just another hallway, another staircase leading back inside the inn. The place was impossible, a labyrinth feeding on his panic. He pressed on, searching for a stairwell down. The woman's words echoed in his skull. The basement. That's where the voices are. Finally, he found it. A heavy iron door half hidden behind a faded curtain near the laundry room. No sign, no marking, just wrong enough to stand out. His hand trembled as he turned the handle. Darkness yawned beyond the threshold, swallowing the thin cone of his dying flashlight. The basement reeked of mildew and burnt meat. He stepped inside. The door slammed behind him. Stone steps creaked as he descended. The deeper he went, the less it felt like a basement. The stairs twisted downward at unnatural angles, the air thickening, pressing into his ears like he was sinking underwater. And faintly, almost imperceptibly, music. A warped lullaby, playing from no clear source. Eric's foot hit the basement floor. His light skimmed across brick walls slick with moisture. Shadows lunged in jagged angles. That's when he saw them. Dozens of ledgers stacked high on wooden tables spilling across the floor. Each guest had their own. Names upon names, some crossed out, most listing a date of checkout never. His stomach turned as he flipped one open. Helen Cartwright, checked in, 1962, still residing. Another. Matthew Krantz, checked in, 1985, still residing. Another. Rachel Edwards, checked in, August 21st, 1979, still residing. He dropped the book like it burned. That was the woman. She hadn't lied. There were thousands of books here, thousands of trapped souls spanning decades. Eric shook his head. No, I'm not staying here. I'm not like them. But then came the whisper. Louder this time. Around him, within him. You are mine now. We keep what the road gives us. The ledgers rustled violently, pages tearing open like mouths. Air rushed through the basement, carrying that whisper in a deafening chorus. Eric staggered, clapping his hands over his ears. Books flew into the air, spinning and clapping shut inches from his face. Then, the ground shifted. The basement floor bulged, bricks heaving upward. Something beneath was moving, something huge. A section of the wall cracked open to reveal a door, a heavier one, deeper black than shadow, bleeding cold air. He didn't want to go through it. Every nerve screamed no, and yet the whisper grew softer, coaxing, teasing. Down here, the truth waits. Eric's knees trembled. He stepped toward the black door. His hand hovered over the rusted latch, and suddenly, the woman's voice cut in sharply from behind him. Don't open it! Eric spun. He hadn't even heard her descend. She stood on the stairs, pale and terrified. She hurried forward, grabbing his arm. Whatever's behind that door feeds on us. That's what binds us here. You open it, there's no turning back. Eric's chest heaved with desperation. Then how do we leave? Her eyes glistened with despair. No one ever has. Not once. But if there's any chance, she pointed upward, we have to go back up before it seals us down here. The whisper chuckled, deep, distorted, amused that she dared defy it. The walls shook violently. The black door's latch uncurled on its own. Eric froze as it creaked open an inch, breath colder than a crypt spilling out. From the darkness beyond, a single pale hand emerged, fingers impossibly long, stretching toward him. The woman clutched Eric's arm hard enough to bruise. Her eyes were wild, almost glowing in the basement dim. Don't let it touch you, she hissed, dragging him back from the grasping hand. But the door was opening anyway, the latch groaning, hinges screaming. The air pouring out was too cold to be natural. It bit into skin like liquid nitrogen, frosting the edges of the floor. Eric staggered, his teeth chattering, his breath spilling in white plumes. Then came the voice. This time not a whisper, but a deep thrum that rattled his ribs. You are mine. All roads lead here. All travelers feed me. Eric's legs buckled under the weight of it. He glimpsed Gregory suddenly beside the door as if summoned. His burgundy vest was pristine, his expression unreadable. You've seen what lies beneath, Gregory said pleasantly, as though discussing the weather. This is the heart of Hearthstone Inn, the master. Every guest eventually comes here, whether by fear or by choice. Eric snarled. And if I don't? Gregory tilted his head, that smile finally cracking to reveal something jagged beneath it. Then you wander the halls forever until all that remains of you is a shadow, like the others. The hand stretching from the door scraped the stone floor, nails clicking like knives. Its arm was impossibly long, jointed wrong, its skin veined with inky blackness that pulsed like oil. More hands pressed against the widening gap, half-visible faces straining against shadow, never fully formed, like clay pushed against fabric. The woman screamed, "Close it, Eric! Help me!" Eric lunged, slamming his body against the iron door. It resisted at first, but with both of them pressing, it screeched, inching shut. The hands thrashed, clawing, cold searing Eric's skin wherever they grazed him. He howled in pain. Finally, with a shudder that nearly hurled them both backward, the door clanged shut. The latch folded back into place, sealing whatever nightmare writhed behind it. The basement fell silent. Eric collapsed, clutching his arm where one of the things had brushed him. His skin seared, blackened, frost spreading in spiderweb veins. The woman knelt by him, frantic. "You fought it. That's more than most do." Eric grimaced. "What the hell is it?" She swallowed hard, eyes flitting to the door. The inn isn't just a building, it's a body. That thing is its heart. We're not guests here. We're blood. Eric's stomach turned. You mean it's feeding on us? She nodded. It lures people off the road, fills the rooms. The longer we stay, the weaker we get. Our memories blur, until we belong to the inn completely. That's why no one leaves. We don't remember how anymore. Eric shook his head violently. No, there has to be a way out. There has to be. Gregory's laugh slid down the stone walls like oil. You still don't understand, he said, stepping forward. His eyes shimmered now, glowing faintly gold in the dark. We don't keep you here against your will, Eric. The inn only offers what you already chose. You left the road, remember? You came to us. The door was open. Eric glared at him. Because I thought it was a hotel. Gregory's smile widened until it split too far, cheeks straining grotesquely. And wasn't that exactly what you needed? Warmth, shelter, belonging? The other guests had followed them quietly down the stairs. Dozens of them now lined the walls of the basement, their eyes blank but all trained on Eric. He realized with nausea that none of them had ever tried to escape. That spark had gone out of them long ago. The woman clung to his sleeve, shaking. We can still fight it. There are stories whispered among us. Eric's throat tightened. Stories of what? She took a sharp breath. One guest years ago reached the edge, found the real door out, but if they escaped, no one knows. The inn erased all trace of them. At that moment, Gregory's head snapped toward her like an animal baring its teeth. His voice cracked with sudden venom. Lies! No one leaves! The walls shuddered with his scream, bricks rippling as if alive, the inn bending itself in fury. From above, the groan of shifting wood echoed down, the labyrinth changing again. The woman grabbed Eric's hand, dragging him toward the stairs. It knows we've found it out. It'll bury us if we stay. They tore up the steps, boots hammering stone, as Gregory's shout followed them like thunder. You can wander, you can resist, but sooner or later, the inn owns you. The lights in the staircase snapped off one by one, plunging them into suffocating dark. Upstairs, the halls twisted alive, the carpet undulating like veins, doors shrinking away, ceilings stretching taller. The building itself groaned, desperate to crush them, to fold them back into submission. Eric stumbled beside the woman, gasping. His burned arm throbbed with icy agony, spreading higher with each heartbeat. Behind them, crawling up from the black basement, came the sound of the door unlatching again. A hiss, a chuckle, and the scraping of thousands of nails coming closer. The corridor was alive. The carpet rippled like flesh under Eric's boots. Wallpaper pulsed in and out, breathing. Light swayed, distorting shadows into long, twisted silhouettes that reached for him. The woman's hand gripped his. Her voice was hoarse from running, but sharp with urgency. We have to get higher. Roof, attic, anywhere it hasn't claimed yet. Eric stumbled, barely able to keep up. His burned arm was spreading frost deeper into his chest, the veins blackening unnaturally. Whatever touched him from that door was inside him now, eating its way upward. Behind them, the basement groaned. The door below had opened fully now. Eric could hear it. A wet, endless dragging. Thousands of pale hands slapping stone, pulling themselves upward. And beneath it all, the voice. Deeper, older, filling the entire structure. Stay. Stay with me. Forever. They turned a corner, slammed through a stairwell door, and ascended. Every floor warped as they passed, hallways twisting back into themselves, staircases folding like paper. Time seemed broken. 1 second lasted an eternity, the next blinked away like nothing. Eric felt his mind bending, but the woman shook him, pulled him forward. Don't look too long at it. Don't think about the hallways. Just move. They burst into the 4th floor. To Eric's shock, there were no rooms here. Just one long corridor ending in a door marked Exit, glowing bright red. His heart soared. There! But the woman yanked him back. Her eyes brimmed with desperation. No! That's not the exit. That's its trick. Every time someone goes through, they don't come back. That's how it feeds. Eric's chest heaved. His body screamed in pain. Voices were inside his head now, whispering with his father's voice, his first girlfriend's, his own dead dog's whimper, all urging him, go through the door, go through the door, rest, belong. No, he growled, shoving the voices from his head. There has to be something real. The woman's face folded into something like grief. There's only one way. The real exit isn't in the building. It's in you. Eric's blood ran cold. What the hell does that mean? Her answer was drowned out by the thunder of footsteps behind them. The guests, all of them. They were ascending the staircase in unison, a mass of hollow eyes and clacking teeth, filling the walls like a flood. Gregory led them calmly, hands folded at his waist, his smile as sharp as a blade. Don't run, Eric. Why tear yourself apart fighting what you already chose? You signed your name. You're ours. Eric looked to the woman for guidance, but her face was changing. Her mouth twisted strangely. Her eyes, still wet with tears, glimmered with the same faint gold glow as Gregory's. Eric felt his chest turn to ice. You're one of them. Her lip trembled. I was, once. I was trapped here for decades, but the inn gives us roles to keep new blood comfortable, to lure, to convince. That was mine. She reached for him. Eric, don't you understand? You were never passing through. The road didn't bring you here by accident. Eric stumbled back, horror spiraling through him. What are you talking about? Her voice softened to a deadly whisper, gentle, tender, undeniable. You've been here before. The corridor warped violently around him. Memories bled into his skull, not unfamiliar, but forgotten. He had driven this road before, not tonight, but years ago, during another storm, after another long night. He remembered being young, reckless, swerving, crashing, blood on the wheel. He remembered stumbling dazed through rain toward a glowing neon sign. The Hearthstone Inn. He had checked in once before, and checked out, never. Eric collapsed against the wall, gagging as Gregory drew closer, the guests closing in behind him like a wall of shadows. You belonged here long ago, Gregory said softly. You left us once, but the inn never forgets. It just waited for you to find your way back. Eric's legs trembled. His burned arm was entirely black now, cold racing across his chest like a second skin. He realized with crushing dread, he hadn't escaped the first time. He had died on that road years ago. This wasn't a hotel. It was the place between. A trap for the lost, the broken, the ones who never made it home. The woman's voice, full of false warmth. No one leaves, Eric. Not because you can't, but because there's nothing left for you to leave to. The revelation snapped the last strand of his sanity. The walls closed in, heartbeat of the inn drowning his own. The guests surged forward, hands outstretched, welcoming him into their hollow fold. Eric screamed, slamming himself against the exit door. For one blinding second, there was nothing but light, so brilliant it seared his eyes. And then, silence. Morning. The neon sign buzzed faintly over the Hearthstone Inn. The storm had passed. Another car slowed on the highway. Tires hissed across wet asphalt. Headlights swung into the parking lot. Inside, Gregory straightened the guest ledger at the front desk. His smile was polite, expectant. The door opened. A weary traveler stepped inside, shaking rain from their coat. Rough night to be on the road, Gregory said warmly. Always room here. He slid the ledger forward. On the last page, written neatly in black ink, just above the blank line waiting for the new signature, was a name, Eric, still residing.